Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into today's webinar, Finding Work-Life Balance with Career Strategist and Alumni, Sammy Tusi. My name is Joseph Blancas, and I serve as an Assistant Director for the Alumni Career Engagement Team at UCLA Alumni Affairs. Today's workshop will focus on a three-step process to discover which areas of your life are misaligned with your long-term goals and devise a plan to help you optimize the rest of 2021. I want to take this opportunity to thank our Alumni Association sustaining donors. It's with your help that we're able to strengthen our brewing community with career programs like this. Now to start our program, I am excited to introduce Sammy Tusi. Sammy is a board certified coach and owner of Tusi International, a consultancy that helps individuals tap into their purpose to benefit the world. Sammy's company encompasses more than 10 years of business and psychology experience coaching new and existing founders and professionals on balance, growth strategy, and leadership. As the founder of Tusi International, she has coached leaders in organizations such as EU Commission, Blue Cross, Mars, Netflix, Uber, and Disney. To date, Tusi has run over 70 workshops worldwide at companies including WeWork and ZipRecruiter, and has coached over 400 clients on topics focused on career building, leadership, time management, and work-life balance. I'll turn it over to Sammy to start our program.
Thank you so much, Joseph, and thank you for everyone for being here today. We've been working on setting this up for almost 6 months, so I'm quite excited. I graduated more than 10 years ago now from UCLA. I'm definitely a proud Bruin, and this is one of my favorite topics on finding balance. So if you're someone who finds themselves saying, I don't have enough time, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, know you're in the right place. This session will help you really focus on optimizing your time to close out 2021 strong. So today you'll receive advice on first how to say no to those things that don't matter, and then create strategies to stay focused and maintain momentum on those that do. So this is going to be very hands-on. Everyone should have a 3-page digital workbook. And I encourage you now to put your phones on silent and give yourself permission to really be present and in the moment, because you have chosen to be here. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the Q&A box and we'll address those at the end. And let's go ahead and get started. So before we do, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm speaking with you today. So I grew up in a family where all the choices were made for me. I felt that I was living a life for everyone else but myself, and that feeling crept into my 20s when I moved into the workforce. I was working 80 to 100-hour weeks. I was sleeping in the office to meet deadlines. I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to check my emails. I was stress eating. I wasn't healthy. But to the outside world, it looked like I had it all together, but I didn't. A few years ago, before I started my coaching practice, I sought out a coach, and we went through some steps that I'm going to take you through here today to help me really get my priorities in order. Working with her also made me want to be a coach. By working with her, I found 3 steps to be the most important in really getting to find that sense of balance and also to get my priorities in order. And that's reflecting on where you are, planning on where you'd like to be, and then prioritizing what's truly important for you. So the first step here is to reflect. Now, in the first page of that digital workbook, right, we're going to be looking at what I call the wheel of life. So why is reflection important? Well, studies in the UK found that those who were prompted to use their commute to reflect on their priorities in the day were happier, they were more productive, and they were less burnt out than those that didn't, right? We're so busy in the hustle and bustle of our life to really pause and take a step back and figure out the observations and experiences and be able to really process what's happening. So in the first section, what we'll be doing is looking at the wheel. So this is what I call the wheel of life. And back in 2016, when I initially did this, I was feeling really unfulfilled in my career. And that was also at the expense of my family. I wasn't managing my time well. My health was deteriorating. So we want to look at, what does your wheel look like here? Right? So everything from finances. So I'm going to just ask you a few questions, just so that you can really observe how satisfied you're feeling in each and every area of your life. And then based on that, we can look at, where do we need to prioritize more energy, more time, more investment? So the first is finance. So with finances, you want to ask yourself, are you satisfied with how much you're making? Are you satisfied with how much you're saving? Where would you place that on a scale of 1 to 10? Then within personal growth. So personal growth is defined as the self-improvement of your skills, your knowledge, and your personal goals. So whether that's taking, a LinkedIn course, or maybe playing an instrument, or studying a language that maybe you haven't dug into in 10 years, like me. Where is personal growth for you on a satisfaction scale of 1 to 10? So for me, this has always been pretty high, because I love researching, especially in my career. I get to learn a lot and develop a lot of different types of methods for my clients. So I put that at an 8 for me. And then health. So health could be, I like to break down health into 3 categories. The first is nutrition. So are you feeding yourself nourishing foods? The second would be movement, body. Are you physically active? How much do you feel like you're exercising? And are you satisfied with that amount? And then the third is energy, right? Are you getting enough sleep? Do you feel present in your days? What does that look like? Health is one that I'm continuing to work on. Just because of COVID, we've been pretty sedentary. And so I put myself at about a 5 there. And then family. So family is, how often do you connect with your family? How often are you reaching out? What does that look like on a scale of 1 to 10 for you? And then think about, relationships isn't on here, romantic relationships. So also think within that category of family too. And then time management. So before today's session, right, we had sent out a survey to a lot of people, and they had rated their time management quite low. So for you, time management is, do you feel like you own time, or does time own you? Are you someone that has maybe difficulty meeting deadlines, or do you constantly find yourself saying, I don't have enough time? Where would you rate your level of satisfaction on a scale of 1 to 10 there? That's also one that I'm working on. I have a lot of different projects and I'm juggling a lot of things. So I put myself at a 6 there. And then social life. Social life, do you have supportive friends? Do you have this good, life and work balance? How satisfied would you say you are in social life? And then attitude. So attitude could change all the different pillars of the wheel. This one is incredibly critical, because based on where you place this, right, it can impact personal growth, it can impact family. And so with attitude, you want to think, when something stressful happens, do you feel like you react or do you respond? Do you feel that, you're more optimistic or pessimistic? On average, where would you place this? More positive or negative? And then last but not least is career. So with career, I think of this into 3 different categories. One, where it's work meaning it's a chore. You don't enjoy getting up and going to work in the morning. It's a career where you are getting the skills and experience to step into what you're truly meant to be doing in the next, 5 or 10 years. Or it's your mission. You love what you do. You feel like there's never ending room for improvement. Where is that for you on that scale of 1 to 10? So I'm going to let everyone go ahead and rate this. Now, if you didn't have the workbook by chance, go ahead and, you can draw out this wheel yourself and just, or like list down some of the different areas and the rating that you would give yourself. Now that we've done this, I want, if possible, go ahead and in the chat box, let me know how many of you have responded with 3 or more parts of your wheel at a 5 or below. What about in 2 or more areas? How many of us have rated, 2 or more areas at a 5 or below? Okay, 12 people. Great. So great, because I do want to say that these numbers are not permanent. I do this wheel. I check in on this wheel with my clients at least once a quarter, and your priorities shift over time. Your level of satisfaction also changes too. But the next step here is to prioritize. Where in your wheel do you want to place more energy to create more balance in your life? What does that look like for you? So right now, identify your one area for the rest of our time together that you want to really plan and prioritize the steps that you want to take. So when you've prioritized that one area, the next step is I want us to reflect on what stopped you, right? Maybe there's a bad habit that we can't break, or a distraction that's coming into play that's stopping us from feeling more satisfied in this part of our wheel. Let's say you're at a 5 and you want to reach a 9. What is it that's stopping you? I know that everyone in here is an overachiever, and over the last 5 years where I've done this workshop, right, there's been very far and few 10s. So what's going to at least help you feel like an 8 or a 9 in this area? So go ahead and jot that down. You can open your notes, quickly write it down. What's that thing that's stopping you? And the next step then is we are going to plan. So the second page of that digital workbook is what I call the results purpose method. What actions can we take to really develop this sense of a balanced wheel? And so the RPM looks at first, what's the outcome that you're after? So this is not any other time management system, but it's going to be a system of thinking. So using the focus area that you've just identified in your wheel, think about first, what's the ultimate result that you are after, right? What is it that you want to create, or what outcome are you looking for in order to close out 2021 strong? The second is, why is this important to you, right? What's the emotional juice? What's the meaning? Where's the feeling behind this result? And then the last is, what's your massive action plan, right? What are the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant hows that we can create to get to our result? So these are mine. And what we want to look at here is, my first one is time management. So just for today, I want you to focus on one because we are limited on time, but time management would be my number one, right? I rated that at a 6. The outcome that I want here is I want to complete at least 90% of my weekly priorities. That's the outcome. That's the specific result that I'm going after within time management. My why, my emotional juice is I want to feel like I'm owning my time, right? I want to feel like I have control over not just the goals that I set, but completing and executing on those goals. And then the next is, right, I want to prioritize the most important stuff, the me stuff, not for someone else, but the things that are going to help me expand and grow. Those are my important tasks. And then, so that's the why. What's stopping me? So I go back to that one thing that stopped me, which was distractions, just focusing on doing versus really having this buffer time. And so my massive action plan here is to complete my most important tasks first thing in the morning, right? And being really specific here. This is a SMART goal that we need to set. Listing out my goals, listing out the why daily behind some of those goals. So knowing my juice behind what I want to create. And then removing distraction, right? Putting my phone in the other room and placing it on do not disturb during the time that I'm really focusing on completing my most important task, completing my priorities. This is mine, right? This is my focus area, my RPM, what I've created to be really important in closing out this year. What I want you to do is list out yours. Take about 5 minutes, write out, right, your results, your emotional follow through, your why, and your map. Okay, now go ahead and if you haven't finished, take that time to take it home. You have these workbooks for life. And I just want to share some of my what I call the 5 power principles of success here to really make sure that you are honing in on your RPM. So the first one is to forget the things that don't matter. Learning how to say no. So for me, I'm a recovering people pleaser. So saying no has always been a tough one for me. But I've also found that saying yes to too many things is the major killer in being able to maintain balance. If saying no is difficult, know that you are not alone, right? But it takes practice. It's like picking up weights after some time of not working out. Initially, it's hard, right? But the more you do it, the more defined our muscles will get because we have practiced expressing no. I also like to check in with myself. Is this aligned with my RPM? Is this a priority for me? And if I'm not excited to go, then why am I saying yes? I have a new mantra where if it's not a fuck yes, then it's a fuck no. Right? So in the moment when you get the meeting request or when you get an invite to a dinner, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. The second one is do one thing at a time. I cannot stress this one enough. So studies show that multitasking leads to not only a decline in critical thinking and short-term memory loss, but researchers have found that switching between tasks can actually cost 40% of someone's productive time. I'm definitely someone who's guilty of having so many tabs open, but recently what I've done is if I have a priority that needs to get done and I set an internal deadline for it, then I won't close all my other tabs, but I'll just move that tab out into a screen of its own so I can focus on that one thing. Then clarify, right? Take a step back, observe your actions. Are you just being busy and taking action? Are you actually taking action to get to your outcome? I like to run through the wheel of life with my clients at least once a quarter because your priorities shift. So where your energy and investment is going, you need to check in on whether that's the right space to be placing some of that energy. Then unsubscribe because when something like I read some research on, how much time we are checking our phones, and a 2021 tech study said Americans spend about every 10 minutes looking at their phones. That's 96 times per day. It's a lot of time. So something I do is I do like a social media less Sunday, and I've been trying to kind of move it into the weekend where I delete Facebook, I delete Instagram, because that simple act of just re-downloading it really checks you of why do I need this? Why am I craving this in my life? And then the last is to serve, right? Know your why. Remember why you're doing it and know your bigger purpose behind it. What's the emotional juice behind placing that energy in your focus area to find more balance? These are just some resources that I personally love. One app specifically for me is Forest. It's a productivity app that really helps you keep focused. And you can use this from when you're present with your family to maybe you want to do some to work at home. But what happens is you plant a seed in a forest. And when you need to put your phone down to stay focused and get things done, as you stay focused, this seed will gradually grow into a tree. However, if you can't really resist the temptation of using your phone, the tree dies. It's a really good reality check. I found I've been using it for almost 6 years now. When it initially came out, I was like, what is this? But it helps you check on how much we crave and desire our phones and challenges you to plant as many trees as possible. Right? These are digital trees, but it maintains that focus time. So last but not least, our third step in finding balance is to prioritize. So the third page of the digital workbook will have what I call the non-negotiable list. So this is looking at what 3 to 5 things in your life are non-negotiable. So what do you need to do to maintain balance, to feel more fulfilled in your life based on some of the focus areas that we discussed. So I want you to just take some time to fill this out. We'll take about 5 minutes here. But for me, I checked back on my wheel and I made sure to list out some of the areas to make sure that I'm placing energy into balancing my wheel of life. The first for me is time management. So making sure that I put my phone on do not disturb during work time. So this fits within time management and career, which was also within my RPM, right? Also daily movement, that's a non-negotiable for me. So that fits within health and social life. So these are things for you that this is essentially a contract that you are creating with yourself, the most important person in your life, of what activities that you need to participate in or maintain, either create or maintain in order to feel more balanced and more fulfilled. The third one for me is my morning routine. So first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I do about a 3-minute plank to the song Senorita, and then I meditate. And when I've just recently started adding in now is to do my own RPM, to write out my goals every single day. With family, that one's big for me because a few years ago, I was living overseas and I chose to move back to be closer to my family. So making sure that I'm at least FaceTiming with my parents who live in Texas once a week, and I get to see family here. But that is a non-negotiable for me. And then my personal growth in career. So Sammy Sundays. So whether that's practicing Spanish, walking by the beach, doing yoga, connecting with family, this day sets me up for the whole week. I find this has been a game changer for a lot of my clients because we need permission and almost a rule book in order to feel like we are really committing to ourselves and committing to this sense of balance. So if you haven't already, I also want you to sign off on this contract. It's a contract to yourself of your non-negotiables. So go ahead and, kind of put that into your keyboard. And what I would say is take a picture of this. We have a digital copy, but place it in front of you somewhere that you can keep referring back to in your day, in your week. Maybe you have block out time to be able to reflect on it. Okay, so if anyone wants to share, please go ahead and do so. Sufficient sleep is one of the non-negotiables. I love that. Dancing daily, yes. Enjoying planned breaks instead of worrying about the next thing to do. Exercise, amazing. Something that I would say too here is now that you have this list, place it on your calendar. Quiet time, right? Quiet time with God is critical. Making breaks for my well-being, making breaks from well-being and productivity. Yes, I hear you. Now, in regards to some discussion points here is just to make sure that you are staying on track with your non-negotiables is first, put it on your calendar. The days fly by. We need to block out time for those things that are non-negotiable for us. So whether that's you using a digital calendar, I personally love my Google Calendar, and everything is placed in there and somewhat color-coded by the different wheels of my life. Just so that I'm ensuring I'm maintaining that sense of balance. Another thing is share this list. We didn't have time today, but share it with a friend, share it maybe with a coach or a colleague, whoever that might be for you, to help hold you accountable to really close out this year strong again. And then if you have completed these things on your list, whether that's your number one thing or 3 things, whatever that could look like, reward yourself, right? Whether that's maybe getting your nails done, or it could be going out for ice cream or watching a great movie, whatever that looks like for you, reward yourself for completing the task. And my most important is stop, pause, and really reflect on your day. Make sure that you are staying on track through this sense of reflection. Okay. So let's have a recap. We've looked at reflecting through the wheel of life. We looked at all the different areas of your life and whether you are feeling in or out of balance, right? We've planned through the results purpose method, and we've also looked at prioritizing your non-negotiable list, those things that truly matter to you. So now you might be thinking, great, this was a strong 40 minutes. I have an hour with Sammy, so what? Well, there's an old Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. So if you have gotten value out of this session and you are wanting more, either to dive deeper into some of the focus areas you've discussed, or you want to run through your RPM even further and create your top 3, right? I encourage you to sign up for a consultation. I'm sharing a free 30-minute consultation with everyone that is here today. So if you are feeling like you want to just dive in a little bit deeper, there's no fee, there's no obligation. Unfortunately, I don't really have the ability to get to know every single person here personally. So we can get on a call and I can learn more about you. So feel free to go ahead and message me. This is my email, my website, and essentially my Instagram. So without further ado, let's kind of move it into Q&A. I saw a lot of questions come in, and so I'd like to address those before we close out today. Okay, so I'm going to, okay, so how can we overcome the sheer stress of a systematic glass ceiling and working within an environment which oppresses its employees at all costs? Okay, so I'm definitely hearing that it's been difficult working, just being able to kind of in a toxic work environment, it sounds like. Or do you feel this person that, submitted something within the first few minutes, do you feel that this is based on the business, or like based on the overall employee structure, or where is that? And I'll ask you to kind of maybe send a little bit more details in there, if you don't mind. Someone asked, do you have any advice on how to avoid burnout when you're working off the charts and your partner is unemployed and has a few burdens and responsibilities to manage? How can I maintain the relationship and meet the standards of the immense workload that I have? So what I'd say here is to check in, take inventory of where you're working, right? So what activities that you're doing in your day, do you have the opportunity to maybe delegate those that aren't being, managed well? Like, can we, for example, bring on more team members to help you? And if that's not the case, take inventory of where's taking the most time, and then prioritize maybe the most important task first thing in the morning. Or if it's maybe needing to communicate with your partner about just how you've been feeling, I find that processing that supports as well. Just being able to connect with him, communicating, how you've been feeling, and maybe seeing if there's any responsibility that he could take on at home, and to find that sense of balance. I hope that helps. Okay. Anyone else have any questions here? Just seeing some of the Q&A. Someone said, do you have any tips for someone who's feeling stuck? Can you tell me a little bit more about where you're feeling stuck? I also like to, is it like you're feeling stuck in your work, or which area of life do you feel like you're feeling stuck in? Issue is based on the poll. Okay, I got a response from the first person. They're saying the issue is based on the politics and the culture of the business. Okay. So with this, I would recommend connecting with your manager or your direct report and letting him know, these are some of the challenges that I'm facing. This is where I see myself growing, let's say within the first night, like within those a 90-day period, or moving into the first quarter of 2022. What do you think would be best for my productivity and my efficiency? So I think having a conversation with other people around how you've been feeling, and just then by opening up that conversation, maybe you can express some things that are coming up for you within the politics of the business, and see how he would address it. Okay, you're feeling stuck in your career. Okay, with what specifically in your career do you feel stuck in as well? Is that just, you're feeling stuck with, you're not enjoying the job, or it could be maybe there's not really room for growth? If it's either one of those, then what I would say is make sure that you first of all look at what you do like about your job, because in the meantime, maybe it's needing to look for something else. I'd need to know a little bit more, but if it's maybe you're not happy with your manager, or whatever it could look like, identifying what it is that you do like and placing attention on those things, whether it's maybe starting to look for a new job, or it could be looking at either it's looking for a new job and then identifying some of the things that you do like about that job and starting to identify where we can place our attention in your current job that connects to that job. I hope that makes sense. What I will say is if you could kind of send me a little bit more information about what is helping, what's stopping you from feeling satisfied in your career, I think that would help too. I have tried in management. Okay. So I've heard back that you've tried in the management saying that the culture will not change. Okay. I'd first look at what's a non-negotiable for you at work, and how does that compare with the non-negotiables at this job, right? What are the values that you're looking for within a company culture? And if they don't align, right, then we need to reflect on whether it's time to move forward from this specific job, or it's being able to, again, find those things that do give you a sense of energy, a sense of purpose and passion in your current job, and focus on those, while in the meantime, you're also looking for something that's more aligned with your purpose. Okay. Any more questions? We have like 12 minutes, so feel free to just throw them in there. So someone has said, what are some key ways that we can continue working through a season when burnout has completely consumed our lives? Okay. Something here I always recommend my clients who are feeling burnt out is having something to look forward to as well. So whether that's at the end of the week, you are going, for a walk with a friend, or you have a dinner planned with your significant other, whatever that looks like, so that you can have that thing to look forward to. Also, I like to start my mornings prioritizing me. So what things can you be doing in your morning that give you even 5 minutes of just you time? So that can help with just feeling less burnt out. I'd also recommend having a shutdown time. Like, I know that especially right now when we are in this Zoom culture, and it's still difficult to go out, and everyone has gone back to work. We are so consumed with screens, but knowing what time, right, you are going to shut down when you start working in the morning, because there will always be things that we need to do. Someone has also said, by the way, we will, the recording will be sent after. How do we suggest we advocate for ourselves at work if we feel like we are given too much workload compared to coworkers at the same level? Okay. So here, I would recommend having an honest conversation with your direct report, letting him know the things that you are doing and checking in if you are given something extra, letting him know that these are some of the things that are already on my plate. Is this a priority, or does this have a deadline, so that you can prioritize what's most important? It also sounds like maybe your direct report finds that you have, you're more responsible or even more trustworthy than your counterpart. There could be that too, but that doesn't mean, right, that we take on everything. It's just being very clear and communicating what you do have on your plate, and making sure that, there's a deadline that's given to any extra work, or if you can hand it off to someone. Someone has said to you, my conflict comes from shifting careers and perhaps working overseas in Europe, but my kids are here in the US. So I'm hearing that there is a conflict and balance. Okay. I would say here, being able to, is there a date that we can aim for of either moving back to the US or bringing your kids with you to Europe? Like having that deadline in your mind will help here too. So that's my question back to you. Okay, they don't need to move. Okay. Do you feel like, so my conflict comes from shifting careers and perhaps working overseas in Europe. Okay. What kind of conflict are you feeling? I hear you. Do you have a date of when you are going to see them? I know she's saying with COVID and traveling, it's hard. I completely agree. It was almost a year and a half since I'd seen my parents, even in Texas. Yeah, holidays, exactly. Hopefully, okay, good. So something that I like to have with my family overseas too is just FaceTime dates, like being able to kind of plan a FaceTime date once a week. Maybe that's a Sunday where you can just catch up on the week. It doesn't always have to be about quality time, but it could be about, or it doesn't always have to be about the quantity of time, but the quality of time that you do have with your kids. Any other questions on balance? Okay, so someone has said, are there some strategies to transition out of work time to personal time? Seems like there are always emails or work you would like to complete that take you past your shutdown time. I hear you. A lot of this will be on you, right? Of letting yourself take space from the screen, from your phone screen. So I've had a similar issue with one of my clients where it's working late into the night because there feels like there's constantly things to be done. Now, first thing I would say is create that shutdown time for yourself, first thing in the morning. Also, communicate with your people. Let them know past a certain time that you won't be checking emails. Preface that communication, letting them know. Another thing I'd say is make sure when you're sleeping and when you're, with family, with friends, taking time to just relax, that you're not on your phone. I like to sometimes time block when I'm checking emails or when I'm, texting or when I'm using my phone. That also really helps. I hope that helped. If you have another question, please put it in the Q&A box too. Okay, someone's saying, that they're really struggling and they can't afford to leave your job at the moment. What I would say here is be able to have an exit strategy in place of when you want to leave that job. I know it's now, but what's realistic? What's a smart goal that we can create in order to plan for leaving the job? What do you need to do in the meantime, whether that's update your resume or start some different networking strategies, connecting with people, getting the word out that you are looking for a different job, updating and doing, a facelift to your LinkedIn, kind of polishing it up a bit. So having that plan in place will help you at least feel like you're taking action on being able to leave and move into something that you're feeling more joy with.
Great. I think we don't have any more questions coming in, Sammy. So I
Okay.
think we can give people back some of their time, 4 minutes of their time. Is there
Okay.
anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to say before we wrap up?
No, if I'm just thank you all for letting me connect with you today. And I hope you enjoyed the webinar. Yeah.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us and Bruins. We hope you enjoyed today's webinar. Sammy's information has been provided in the slide, but we'll also provide it in a follow-up email along with the recording. So with that, I just want to say take care, everyone, and go Bruins.